Welcome to the Automation Show, where my job is to interview real life champions from all walks of manufacturing and bring about habits, processes, methods, formula that you all can apply in your life. I'm super duper excited today. I have someone who have really transformed the way global companies, the world look at India in terms of quality. And he is not just a typical businessman, but he is a social entrepreneur who has taken his father's dream to the next level. वृक्ष हो भले खड़े, हो घने, हो भरे, एक पत्र छां भी, मांग मत, मांग मत, मांग मत, अग्निपथ, अग्निपथ, अग्निपथ. This is a beautiful poem and a very meaningful poem by Dr. Harivansh Rai Bachchan, which signifies one's unwavering commitment to the path. And this is merely who I'm going to talk today, whose dedication is to bring some social impact, social change, advance Indian manufacturing excellence, and establish a world-class brand in the field of precision. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man himself, Mr. Vikram Salunkhe, Managing Director of Accurate Gauging and Instruments Private Limited. How would you summarize your journey so far?
I think it has been a very challenging, rewarding, and fulfilling journey. When I started my career, it was just the time when Indian economy was opening up. I joined the company in 1988 after my graduation, and 1991. So from 88 to 91, I was just coming into the business and saw all the procedures that required import license. When I made the first foreign travel, we had to apply for a permit to be at the foreign exchange for a travel. And from then, things started changing. And in 91, we saw the revolution that happened in the Indian economy. And thankfully, I have a connect of the past, very little, I must say, of the past, but I've been part of the entire journey from 91, where a lot of things change over a period of time.
It has been 34 years and there has been remarkable change in India's fortune in the last 34 years. If I'm not wrong, it's 62 years now since Accurate was formed. It was formed by great man, late Mr. Vikram Salunkhe, and I don't know how many people know about him, but he was a social man, and he led a lot of revolution in the field of panchayat, and worked for this part of the society which has been very much ignored. So उनके बारे में कुछ ऐसा बताइए जो कि लोगों को उतना नहीं पता है. I think what people do not know about, and which is very important, which is very close to your heart.
So, my father lived, I would say, two lives. His first life was the professional life, that after graduating from College of Engineering in Pune in 1957-1958. Since then till about 1972 was his first life, which was a life of an engineer, entrepreneur, mentor for many other entrepreneurs in that life. And then from 72 onwards, his journey changed because of a big drought in this region. And since then, he moved his attention to, working for the marginal farmers who don't have access to water for their farming. And that's where he founded the movement called Pani Panchayat Kariya. He worked for the community irrigation management schemes, for which he was also awarded a Swedish Inventors Award by the Swedish government.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that. Wow. Yes. Wow. So I also want to understand why the great man, why he started this business. I mean, चालू क्यों किया? I think
Actually, the same reason why he started his social work and working for the farmers, which was then the need of the time at that time. The same was the situation when he ventured into this gauging metrology business. Actually, it was an accident. When he passed out from the College of Engineering in Pune, he always had one thing in mind, that he wants to be an entrepreneur and not work. That time, many large companies were setting up their shops in India, in Pune particularly, and any engineer who would go there could walk out with a appointment letter directly from the security gate. They didn't even have to go inside to the company. On the other hand, my father, wanted to not to work for that company, but to produce something for that company. And this came to the attention of the senior engineer there, the chief engineer there. And then he said, okay, he's an engineer, he wants to do something, so let's give him a job that requires, the engineering skills, and that involve also measurement. And my father was very happy that he got a job that deserved his skills, and he set up the entire process and decided to buy a particular machine to do that. But then when it came to checking that job, he realized that he needed a plug gauge, and that time the delivery for plug gauge was 1 year, and it could be only imported from Germany. So his whole project came to a standstill for want of a plug gauge. And my father, being somebody who was, like you said in your earlier poem, that he couldn't take no for an answer. So he decided that he would study the process of what it makes to make the plug gauge. And he went to Praga, he went to that time Maiko, which is Bosch now. And then he decided that he will make the plug gauge himself. And when he made the plug gauge, the customer said, Kare, if you can do this, why not do it for us?
Yeah.
So actually, instead of going into an auto component industry, he went into making something that the whole industry needed. And that's how the first plug gauge was made in our country, in a private sector.
I think that's a story in itself.
Yeah.
First plug gauge was made by Accurate Transit in the private sector. But it must not have a very cakewalk at that time.
It wasn't.
Right?
It wasn't at all, because that was the time, to do anything you needed a government permission.
Yeah.
So to make gauges, you needed high precision machines.
Yes.
And to get a permission to import such a machine, you would have to apply to the DGTD, get a permission. So we were the first company to make plug gauges. We were the first company to make snap gauges. We were the first company to make calipers. Vernier caliper for the first time was built in India. And the challenges were aplenty, because a caliper that time required a special material, stainless steel, non-magnetic. And it so happened that the same material, stainless steel, as a broad this thing, was considered as a competition to our utensil industry. So the entire utensil industry had approached the government and said, ये stainless steel India में import होता है, तो our industry will be wiped out.
Right. Which was quite a big industry at that time.
So the government put 300% duty on stainless steel.
My God.
So the cost at which we would make a caliper after paying the import duty on the steel, at a fraction of the cost, a finished caliper would arrive from Japan. So there was no way that we could compete on. But still we continued, and for almost until 91, 92, we still, for 20 years, we continued to make calipers despite making loss. And but the point was that each of our product kind of led to the development of the next product.
Yes.
So from plug gauges, snap gauges, calipers, air gauging, actually came, finally it all led to the final development of CNCMS.
So I imagine industries at that time, a lot of उस समय इंडिया में तो उतनी इंडस्ट्रीज तो नहीं थी, but whatever industries was there, Accurate must have played a very important role in their growth as well, because measurement is a major challenge for companies.
Not only industry, but I would say the entire engineering fraternity. Yeah. So I come across many times when I go to companies, and meet some senior people, and they sometimes fondly tell me that during their internship as engineers, they came to Accurate and they saw the first time, because there were not just few companies who made measuring instruments in India. And so, having seen how a measuring instrument is manufactured was something that they always remember in their lifetime. And we continue to do that. We welcome the engineers from all the colleges to visit our facility even today. So that tradition is still continued.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important tradition that you are encouraging students, encouraging young people to witness themselves and continue in this profession, which can be quite boring for people from different sectors, as we see, but it's an important part. So if I were to ask the great man himself, let's say if I had that fortunate privilege at that time, and if I would have asked him, एक सक्सेसफुल बिजनेस बनाने के लिए क्या चाहिए, वो तीन चीजें क्या है, तो what would the great man would have said?
So I think for him, I wouldn't say that we attribute to us now, but for him the first thing was that whatever I am doing, whether it is serving a larger purpose, that was always his this thing. So for example, he never made any equipment that was already made in the country. So our focus that time, was foreign exchange was very expensive, yes, and very few. So the entire foundation of the company was on the basis of import substitute products. And he always believed that, if our industry has to make products which we can sell outside, then there must be a parity for what they consume in India to be able to compete. So his, I think, a single focus was that I will do what my country needs to satisfy the needs of my country. And that was, you would see in any of his acts. I mean, what he did for the farmers was also from that point of view. It was always beyond going oneself's own need. So
I think so. If I have to summarize that, what you just said, so it's a purpose, innovation, and determination. So these were three things that for him was a three key up to success mantra. So when you joined the company, and you said that your first role was a telephone operator, and then you went ahead and you started to do some selling at very, very tender age. When you joined the business and when it started to become much more serious, what advice did he give to you? What did he tell you?
So my father's, when it came to a discussion between us, he really, told us to do something. He was a good listener, and whenever I had an opportunity to interact, he would just listen to me. Very rarely he told us to do a particular thing in a particular way at our end. When I came into the business, after graduation, like all my friends, went abroad for further post-graduation. I didn't have that opportunity because I could see that my father was wanting to spend so much time with the farmers and his work in the social work that I felt it a kind of a responsibility on myself to, come very quickly in the business. And the only thing he said is that, he's handing over a clean slate. Like the company was very small revenues, but no backloads. And he said, this is what I'm giving it to you. Now it's up to you how you want to take it forward and, build whatever you want to do. So, don't expect anything from me. If things go right, that's your call. Things go wrong, that's your call.
So remember, I think 62 to say even 90, for a company to survive and flourish and not having any bank loan, that's a remarkable achievement. What his output was when he was handing over, but he did not even make any fuss about it. He said, okay, off you go, and now it's you. And how do you think that if he would have been sitting here and if he would have been praising you, and how much marks would he give it to you? Let's say out of 10, that how have you fared so far?
I think it was never about me alone, right? It was about the team. Yes. So, many of us here, including our sales director Patil and many senior engineers like Devekar, Katkar, all of them consider themselves as fortunate that they had the possibility to interact with my father. Some of them were groomed by my father. Mr. Patil was far more groomed than me by my father because he joined almost 10 years before me. So, and so I would have, looking back, he would have been greatly satisfied with what we have created as a import substitute product in India. So
I think Accurate has been a huge success. I for someone believe in Indian manufacturing, in India becoming the most powerful nation in the world, and manufacturing is to play a big role. And what Accurate has done, it has given hope to entrepreneurs and engineers that look, you can build a business in the toughest of the street. Building a successful business in the area of quality is by no means a small achievement. It's a significant achievement, and thankfully it succeeded because we needed some company to really show, look, you not only can make quality products in India, you can make quality machine. Those will ensure that you can make quality products in India. So it has been a remarkable achievement. So what is your mantra for continuous improvement? How do you see continuous improvement?
See, one of the things that we learned long time ago in the process is that at Accurate, anybody who's working takes the ownership of his, the activity, and that requires many times a continuous change, because we don't have a hierarchy where few people decide what is to be done in these areas, and fortunately we have been able to create that culture where everybody's wanting to do better. Many people that you interact on the shop floor, that you have interacted, have grown from the ranks, and they have seen that the freedom that they get in their operations enables them to achieve higher heights, and that is what has been happening. So it's in the DNA of Accurate calls for a change. If we would have stayed with a plug gauge product,
Right.
and said that okay, now we have done it, stayed with that, probably it would have been another DNA of the company. But this change has been right from the inception. So, and the struggle or the development attitude or the passion for making these changes and taking up new challenges has been a culture that each one of us is kind of part of the upbringing for us.
So I wanted to talk about your thought process behind the canteen, the thought process from the welfare scheme and the health scheme. Could you talk about that?
Actually, it has has a deep connect to what my father did in 70s. So one of the things that we did in the 70s is that we started working in the farmers in the surrounding region. And the next thing that my father did after setting up a trust there is he said that why not we bring the industrial opportunity to these farming folks. And you'll not believe, in the 80s, we started a small extension of our manufacturing facility at Saswat. And I used to literally curse my father that, we had no company around, we are not in MIDC, we are entirely on our, and we have to take care of all the issues, water, electricity, road, everything that we have to take care of, and then do these, challenging products like on the other hand. So why are we doing this? And his thought was, as I mentioned earlier, that he was also very highly influenced by the Japanese culture. And in Japan, every person, no matter what his industrial background is, at the core, they think he's a farmer.
Yes.
And during the rice plantation and all those times, they go back and do the necessary work. In India also, in Konkan area, has been, unfortunately, we have over a period of time lost that prevent with our this thing. So my father's thing was that he wanted to have opportunities for the rural communities to continue staying on their land and have an industrial opportunity to work in that area. So when we started doing this, so our first canteen was in 80s, where we used to get all the produce from our trust and run the canteen here. And this canteen was very famous for bhakri and chutney. That was my father's favorite food. So when we started doing this activity at Saswat, we also felt that, everybody who comes from their own house has an excellent food cooked in the house.
Yes.
It's not like the city dabba that is coming from there. So if we wanted them to eat in our canteen, we would have to make something better than what they would get from their home. Then only they will eat.
Yes.
So we started the canteen in that way. And then, of course, our team brought a lot of new ideas, including, how to monitor the calories and everything. Because we believe that, precision culture is not about that last micron will not come just by, skills of the person.
No.
The skills are holistic. You need a kind of your mindset that requires that you can pursue that micron. And so that has to come up holistically. And
Wow, I think you put it very simplistically that the last micron will not just come from skill set, but the key is the mindset. How were you and your team, of course you started with your father and then your senior team, your core team, how were you built up that culture where you have people working for long? How were you able to attract talent to work in Accurate when there could have been also a number of good opportunities around? How were you able to motivate them to strive for excellence? How? Because this is very important for a lot of new companies in India to know, especially for a startup, because this will make and break for this?
So, as a mid-sized company, well, now we are a mid-size, but I would say a small-size company in the past, uh, it's very difficult for us to attract a high level of talent. And in the sense, high level in the sense, what is typically a presentable talent. So anybody who's fluent in the language, who is graduated from a good school, typically would go to do a job with a MNC or a large organization. So for a small scale unit, it is very difficult to attract such talents. What we did is that we took the engineers from rural areas who were not so good in their expression, but had hunger for excelling in their life in future and making best of every opportunity that came their way. So on the good thing at Accurate, what we did is that we made sure that because the company took newer opportunities and newer challenges, all of these challenges went downstream to each one of them to do something different. Like our customers kept giving us new challenges, more sophisticated machines, more automation, inline systems, optical systems, and they gave us the trust that okay, you can do this, right? And my team has never let us down on that. So each time, talking about one of the incidents, I remember that for one of the very large public sector unit, because after Pokhran, it was impossible for them to get high accuracy machines from outside, and they came to us, and they, the government tenders, there are qualifications criterias, and the qualification criteria said that if you don't have a past experience of delivering a particular machine, then you will not qualify. But in that circumstances, they came to us and they said, okay, what have you done? And we said, we have done a machine of 2 microns. And they said, can you deliver us a 1.7 micron? So we said, we can try. And they said, okay. They made an exception. They gave us an order. Of course, they didn't release any advance. They said, if you do it, we will buy the machine.
Right.
And, the team worked day and night, and we were, by a fraction of micron away from the end result. They came for the inspection. They said, okay, you are nearly there. We'll come back again, make it better. And we really delivered that machine.
I think this year Accurate must be doing around 300 CMMs in a year, if I'm not wrong, give and take, around close to 300. And if I'm not wrong, it wasn't few years ago, it was only 150 CMMs annually. So how were you able to bring changes from the design to manufacturing to assembly to test to commission to service to keeping customer happy? Because without these things being done, you cannot go from 150 machine to 300 machine. How was that done, and how was the same thing percolated among everybody working in the organization? How did that happen?
So I think probably my colleague Divekar is the best person to answer your question as to how he doubled the quantity. But I can tell you that in the next 3 years, we'll be doubling this 300 number as well.
Wow.
So it's all in plan. And the way we do it is, again, we do this through small teams. Because like you said, now looking back, 300 looks like a big number. Or 600 for the future today may look a big number. But what we do is we break this into small tasks. So somebody is responsible for only granites, somebody is only responsible for certain types of machines. So we have a family like the bridge machines, horizontal arm machines, gantry machines. So of course industry specific tasks we do these machines. And each one of them, for them, it's only, maybe 30 machines, 50 machines. The small bridge machines is probably 100 plus machines. So these targets are broken into small activities. And each one of them is given the kind of, freedom to plan and work, and has his own team to manage. And cumulatively, unknowingly, we meet all these targets. So, at the beginning of the year, we never say that, this is what we want to do, but small things are kind of, given to each one of them. And they decide that, okay, in their area, now they are going to do this.
Right. So how were you able to get people to own stuff, to take accountability? What are the lessons there?
So first of all, this was one of the message that again I received from my father, that individually, any one of us as Salunkhe family, we don't consider us as the owners of this company. His message was that we are trustees of this company, because today Accurate is a kind of an institution working in this field of precision engineering, and each one of us, is responsible for nurturing this institution, and that's how we look at it. So the entire team, they are all of us are owners of this together, and each one of us is protecting this institution to the best of their ability. So any commitment that we take it as a commitment of us as a team, and the name Accurate is therefore, fiercely protected by each one of us. Everything that goes, we never look at in a particular way that are we making enough profit on this activity or not. The more important thing for us is that are we satisfying the customer? Because if he has given us an opportunity to do something, then we stand by that chance that we have got to deliver.
So I think that's it. So the underlying theme is that having a shared value, which is easier said than done, but the way I think that management team look at that, and the way the management team is able to get the whole company behind it, that has been able to result into people taking accountability of their tasks, taking ownership, and that is resulting into this wonderful result that you've achieved. So you briefly mentioned about that in 3 years' time, your goal is to develop from 300 CMMs annually to 600 CMMs. In terms of, let's say, your vision as you stand here today and you look at the next 10 years. So if you have to talk briefly about what are your mid-term goals and the long-term goals? What are those?
See, I think India is right now poised at a very interesting point in manufacturing. And as a company, our goals or whether mid-term or long-term, is to make sure that the responsibility that we have in this entire manufacturing sector, which is a combination of the equipment and knowledge. That's a very, very important thing, because like you earlier said, that without the right knowledge, the having the best kind of equipment doesn't deliver what is expected to do. And therefore, all our goals and objectives are aligned to these two things. So one is, of course, we are creating infrastructure that can help us to deliver more outputs. So we have recently acquired a large facility, and we are almost doubling our manufacturing capacity in this year itself. So that will happen. But At the same time, we are investing large only into skill development. So skill development at both ends, one at our internal end to develop better resources for meeting our requirement, but also at our customer end. And the customer end happens in two ways. One is the resources that are already deployed at the customer, and second is making sure that through participation with academia, you make sure that the customers have an opportunity to get new engineers which are ready to deliver.
Yeah.
And in that area again, we are investing a lot. So we have created our own foundation called Accurate Center for Quality Excellence, through which we are doing these initiatives to invest into skill development.
And that's the key. I think skill development is going to hold a very important place if we were to achieve what we can achieve. So, what are the other sectors in which Accurate would be planning to venture into, taking the leverage of its expertise in, say, precision manufacturing, precision measurement? What are the other sectors Accurate is?
That's a very interesting question. So over the last couple of years, we are all seeing what is happening in this 3C sector.
Yeah.
Like is consumer electronics, computers, and communication equipment. And we are seeing what China has done in this sector in the last 10-12 years in terms of manufacturing.
Yeah.
And the same thing is coming in India. We will see our manufacturing scenario changing dramatically. What you and me have seen with Maruti coming to India, what happened to the automotive industry, I think the same thing is going to unfold in the next 5 to 10 years, where the entire consumer electronic production in India is going to evolve, and the manufacturing will have to keep a pace with that. So a lot of things are going to change in this area, and therefore we have started a new project called Onyx, which is dedicated in the space of this 3C manufacturing segment, and we are working with multinational companies to help them localize their products in India. So what my father did in the measuring instruments 60 years back, we are again revisiting that path again with this new venture that we are getting now in this space.
And innovation and change is in your DNA. So there is a formula that you already have. So you would want to scale up with the formula that you have. Recently in IMTEX, I think 2025, you and Accurate have been given a prestigious award for entrepreneurship. How do you feel about it? Who do you want to dedicate it?
Well, I think I of course we are very honored that IMTMA decided to choose us for this award. This is the Vinod Doshi Matsapinnaral Award, and I think we dedicated to our customers, over 2,000 customers who made this possible. That they pose their trust in this capability of us to deliver this machine that has saved the country over 500 crores of foreign exchange. That we achieved by delivering these import substitution machines. So the entire team Accurate, is the recipient, truly the recipient of this award for putting India on the global map for the CMM manufacturing company.
Yeah, I like everyone would be very proud of the achievement that what Accurate has done, because it has shown the way. It's like holding the beacon, and there needs to be somebody hold the beacon so the rest can get inspired. You talked about the hope and the opportunities which is in Indian manufacturing, but Indian manufacturing has been poised to grow for some time now. I think I remember when I moved from UK to India in 2012, I came to India with a hope, with a plan that Indian manufacturing, which was at that time around 11% in the GDP, that it will go to 14% in GDP, and India would become the manufacturing powerhouse. And I'm talking about 12, 13 years ago, but it did not. So there have been a lot of things that always pulled India back in terms of its growth. What do you think had changed now? And how much is your hope realistic, and how much opportunities can Indian companies capitalize right now?
So, it takes a long time for the elephant to move.
Yes, it's your man.
So, finally, I think it has started to move. And a couple of things. One is that, first of all, I believe that whatever has happened over the last 10, 12 years in the automotive side has given the confidence to the Indian consumer to trust in the Indian products. Today we are seeing the cars with the finish and everything that any global car would have.
Yeah.
And so there is an increased confidence in the Indian products. Obviously, there's a lot of unfulfilled demands in the consumer electronics area, and our lives have changed with the mobile phone, this thing, and the entire businesses getting built out of it.
Yeah.
Mobile phone is not an option anymore.
Yes.
If you want to buy your vegetables or you want to do anything business, phone is the basic thing that you need.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that in the next years we will see a exponential growth in manufacturing. We will see a lot of products that, as we earlier spoke, which will address the needs of a common person, be it a small farmer, be it a housewife, or be it an entrepreneur or an engineer or a student, whoever is in this space. So a lot of technologies will affect our life in more and more ways, and each one of them will need some kind of a products.
Right.
And hopefully many of them will be built in India, developed in India, and we will have a bigger opportunity to play in this manufacturing growth story.
Yeah, and it's exciting time. So you travel around the world, you go and meet. I know in Renishaw, whenever I go to any subsidiary, whether it is American subsidiary, Canadian subsidiary, or European subsidiary, everybody knows you. I think everybody knows you, and a lot of them many times say they may have worked for some other organization and they have visited here, came to install something. So I want to know from you, because there's a lot to learn from countries outside India, such as there's a lot to learn from China, that how had they evolved and taken manufacturing to the next level. They have taken the quality to the next level as well. How have other Western countries, I think, maintained the standard they have? So what do you think are the good things that we should learn from these countries and can apply here to scale and grow our business?
From China, there's a lot to learn. Productivity is number one. If there's one thing that I would look at, and productivity in all aspects, everything that they do. Second is the skill. So they have a productivity and they have a much higher scale in everything that they do. And the third is the markets. They don't do it only for China, or they don't do it for any specific market. They do it for the world. Anything that they do.
Yeah.
So I think these are the things that we will have to, the newer generation will have to kind of adopt to. And fortunately, it is happening in that way. Earlier, we were always constrained by our thoughts
Yes.
and our imagination. The new generation is no more constrained by the thought. They want to do from day one everything for the world. So
What is your views about R&D, research and development in India? Are we doing enough R&D in India? What are the rooms for us in terms of improvement? How do you see it?
there is a lot to do in R&D area. Uh, we are still a lot more system integrators than core R&D in many areas. And I think that's a process. As we do more of this, we will get there. But I think we need to accelerate our efforts in R&D. People have to start realizing that whatever work that the innovation that they do, unless it is commercialized, there is no value to it. So many people hold the innovation to their chest, saying that, this is a great idea, and I want to be overnight rich, doing that, selling that idea. But I think innovation that can touch the life of every person in the country and can be scaled up is something that we need to do, and our R&D focus has to go more in this area. I mean, I'll just talk about a simple thing that probably is one example. Is our two-wheelers in the world have the highest fuel efficiency.
Yep.
And that's the only reason why India, as you can see, is able to manage the inflation, because to some extent there has been a relief coming from the engineering solution, which has kept our cost at this thing. Otherwise, petrol prices going from 50 rupees to 100 rupees, you can imagine that is how it would have affected. So this is one example of how the innovation has touched life of an ordinary person. And the same thing has to come in our machine tool industry, where the cost of our products have to compare favorably with China or Taiwan or those countries, because their qualities are today have gone up. They are of a significant standard compared globally, and we have a long journey to go in that space.
True, and I think we have success formula. We have done it. I think there are companies in India who have done it. There are certain sectors, such as a space sector, where our Mars mission is way more cost competitive than, say, Americans' Mars mission as well. So, but for this R&D to really materialize into some tangible products, some great product, what, if you have to specify what one change companies, industries can focus on, what would that be? What is that? So one thing they can focus on more than others.
I think looking at products which will meet global expectations is one important thing. Now, obviously, when you design a product for global expectations, you must first validate in India. So there's no two questions about cutting shortcut in that area.
Yeah.
But when we design a product, we have to think about world as a global market for that product, and not design a product because it will get sold in India and work in Indian conditions.
Wow.
That would work.
That's a very important lesson. So just do not, if I had to simplify it, just do not design for a cheap product. Design for the world. And then, of course, you innovate in a way that you are able to bring about a product which is affordable in a way, which is practical to use, and which is easy to use as well. It's a fantastic piece of, I think, insight. I know that very recently you have secured a patent as well in accurate. What is that patent about?
It's the third patent.
Third.
We should have done, we should have started on this journey much earlier.
Right.
But this is over a period of time now. This process is maturing, and people are now feeling confident that okay, I am doing something that is coming out of the shadows of earlier burden of replicating a product to innovating a product. But it has taken us a long time, to come to that stage and start going through patents and securing them.
I think it's still remarkable. 3 patents. So how do you celebrate these things? Like these things have to be celebrated enough for others to know, and I think carry that forward.
Frankly speaking, we don't celebrate it enough because I think we are still, looking at delivery of per machines and these kind of things. But you're right that, we need to start talking about it and celebrate more.
And I think who would know more than you that what you celebrate, that becomes your culture, isn't it? So I'm quite curious to know that I read one of your interviews that you gave that we must first focus on adding values to customers in the country before thinking about exports. What did you mean by that? Because it's very, very important statement that you made.
So the thing is that, a lot of entrepreneurs, look at export as a lucrative market here. And they believe that, if they have a good idea, they would like to explore this, especially the new generation. My point is, what I just mentioned earlier, is that when you design a product, design it that keeping in mind that, world is market for you. But initially when you launch that product, make sure that you satisfy Indian customers, local customers. It will throw up many challenges, many times far more challenges that you would otherwise have in exporting a product. Sometimes because the customer is not fully trained, and many times there are more challenges, but it prepares you much better. So definitely, in the manufacturing sector particularly, I think there is no better time than to be in India right now. But that is greatly this way.
And how do you see competition? How do you think it's a good thing? Do you think that it encourages people? How do you think? What's your opinion about competition?
Competition has to be there. No product evolves unless there is a competition, because that's the only measure. If somebody else can give a better product, better service, the customers have a choice, and one has to be continuously on your toes to make sure that you better yourself, and that's the part of the continuous change. Without competition, there wouldn't be any continuous change that is required. So in India, we those of us who have got the lead have to make sure that we deliver better, more comprehensive solutions to ensure that we stay ahead of the competition.
And how do you see the trend like automation and other technology playing a role in India? And you talked about the productivity being such a key differentiator between China and say India, for an example. So how do you see us improving in the productivity levels itself? And is there a connection between automation and the productivity?
Actually, what happens is that in India, we have this concept of jugaad. So jugaad is a very good thing when you are doing something for the first time here. But jugaad will not take you forward in sustaining ever. After doing the jugaad, because everybody, each one of us, when we innovate a product, it is some kind of a jugaad. You get your end result, you have done it. Then it's very important that to understand what has gone into it and make sure that you better it, the process, better the entire process flow, and then make sure that your product stands out on its merits.
Right.
And that is where the role of automation comes in, because if you want to do something consistently, it's very important that we invest in this area. The big challenge in India, or rather there are many big challenges. One of them is attrition, and this is very unique to the Indian condition, where somebody who works in with a small opportunity, he will move on to do something else.
It's true.
And your process is totally dependent on the skills that you have invested in that person, and therefore the role of automation becomes very, very critical. And we are seeing this around the machine as well, that it's no more just delivering a machine, but delivering a full solution which is integrated in a factory or manufacturing process.
I think you're right, because if there has to be scalable business, automation has to be there. And automation would drive efficiency, which is so much critical to ensure a level of profitability that you will need. So there's so much talk about Industry 4.0 and IoT solution and things like that. What have you done inside Accurate in terms of your manufacturing processes or your various processes, and how have you leveraged this IoT or Industry 4.0?
So, coming from the metrology side, we had insights into this kind of a upcoming this thing of the Industry 4, way before.
Yes.
10 years back when this word was just coined, we also realized that a lot of our customers actually we are not delivering them a measuring solution, but we are actually delivering them visibility to their operations data, quality data, and how they can use this effectively in their decision making process is what is really going to affect their business performance. And so therefore we worked a long way. In fact, we were one of our first ones to give a request to Renishaw to open the controller for giving us access to that data.
Yes.
That was coming from the system. At our end also, we are doing the same thing. All our machines are connected, and we have a complete digital manufacturing dashboard where we can monitor consumption of electricity that is gone into building of every machine, and therefore we can compare any losses that occur in the entire flow of the process.
That means I have seen it. So in a way, it has democratized the decision making. So for decision making, one doesn't have to rely on somebody else.
Yeah.
Every person, wherever they need to make decision, they can make decision, because it's not just based on opinion, it's based on the fact, it's based on the data. So, and what is Accurate doing right now to create that pipeline for future leader? How do you look at this, and how important is it?
Well, it's a very important thing. I mean, if I want to leave a legacy, it has to be, measured through the people who are going to carry forward the business. Because as I mentioned, that this is no more a private, family company. It's more like an institution, and therefore the role for every person inside this company to grow at the top and contribute is something that we are all looking at, and we're doing it in a couple of ways. One is that now we have come to a size of business where fortunately we can attract some senior level talent even from across the industry, and that talent is also helping us to kind of accelerate this new talent development that we need to do. And the second thing is we are continuing to kind of hire, engage and train people from rural areas who fit in our culture and continuing the same way that was done earlier.
And that's a proven success formula, I think, giving opportunities to people who have not got enough access to the opportunity, having hunger, having passion. What are the essential qualities that you look at the future leader? What do you think are very important?
I think very important thing is to have sincerity. Sometimes the skills can be little less. They can be developed, they can be nurtured. But your sincerity and your passion are the two things that you have to have inside. And hunger. That's the most important thing. If you want to do something better, so that's what we really look for.
So sincerity, hunger, and passion. So these are three essential qualities. We talk a lot about opportunities in India, and as we all know that, I think Indian manufacturing GDPs would be around $600 billion right now out of $4 trillion overall GDP. What do you see the role of industries and industries such as Accurate and other industries is to take this to 25%, the contribution which is 16% to 25%, and to make this $4 trillion economy to say for $7 trillion, say $10 trillion. What is the role of Accurate? What is the role of other companies? And what is the dream that we can really look at? We all have politicians saying a lot of things, but as a businessman, as a practical man, what do you think and what do you want to say?
See, first of all, we need to scale up our capacities. In India, typically, traditionally, everyone has kind of invested a little less than what the market demands. So we have been conservative, yes, many times. I think the times have changed. We have to, like what Chinese have done. They create the capacity and then the business follows.
Yeah.
So this mindset has to change. And for all those companies which have the little bit of, let's say, luxury of having some resources that are investable, I would urge them to create capacity. Because in India, we are very, very short of capacity.
Yes.
When we started working on this 3C manufacturing area, we realized that, all put together right now, whatever are the companies which are addressing the tooling requirement in this area, probably there are 10-15 companies that are involved like us. All capacities together is less than one Chinese company in this space. And there are at least 35 to 50 such Chinese companies working in this space. So you can imagine what's the scale that is required. And unfortunately, every entrepreneur that I talk to is, asking me questions like, what is ROI? What is my capacity utilization? And many of these things that they learn in the business schools. Sometimes, so I never learned these things, These were new terminologies for me because we were always technologically, driven. And so today's generation, needs to start looking into that and create capacity. If you can, just the way when we build a house, you always think about having extra rooms, yes, for the next generation. So same way when we build a factory, whatever work we are doing, have extra room here. The business will follow.
Absolutely. I think it's a very important point. Building capacity, the business would follow. What is your expectation from the government in the future to support industry, and what they need to do, what they're not doing right now, and what they continue to do, what they're doing right now?
See, for the government, the past developments over the last few years has been more from IT driven. And, with no less respect, but, what IT has done is they have put us on a global map for Indian talent. But the government had to do very little for really enabling the IT. Whereas when it comes to manufacturing, we need lot of small things that are required to enable the manufacturing setup. For IT, one person with his own brain, one computer, and his home office can get him started. But that doesn't happen in manufacturing. You need a lot of things. Logistics is a huge challenge. Cost of logistics, cost of infrastructure for manufacturing is extremely high, and you can't compare, IT versus manufacturing. So the government did a lot of benefits for IT. They said for IT you'll have extra FSIs, and you can do everything. But we have never respected manufacturing the same way, and we have never realized the needs of manufacturing industry in the same way. I think one needs to do that, and it's little bit, lot more muscle power is required to move manufacturing. Trained resources, all of that is required.
And the business needs a strong backing from the government. And we have seen a lot of developed economies, how the government and the business work hand in hand. And I am sure that is a kind of culture we need to have in India as well, where they work very well together. And I think then they can advance. They can advance.
We need to start getting that respect that, today, if somebody comes and says he's from IT, people from the government look at it differently. Versus somebody coming from manufacturing, because it's not fashionable to be in manufacturing.
And I think that's one of the jobs us industry to do. That how can we increase the awareness of the role of manufacturing that has to play, because for India to become the developed nation by 2047, manufacturing has to play the biggest role. Without manufacturing, India cannot become a developed economy. If you look at China, if you look at America, when they were on the peaks of their power, the manufacturing was the largest contributor to the GDP. Like in America in 60s and 70s, it was around 30%. In China, in the recent past, it was around 40% above. So for India to become that superpower and the developed nation in, say, 20 years' time, the manufacturing also has to play around 30% here as well. Yes. And that's why
There's a big gap.
It's a big gap there. But the thing is that in the business people are there is a hope and a strong sentiment. It's just a little bit help the government that they need to provide. We have had a long conversation, but there's so much to learn for our listeners, our viewers, and for myself as well. It can go on for ages, but we have to bring it to conclusion. But before we do that, I've got few quick rapid fire questions that I like to know answers from you. So, what is that one word that describes the current state of affairs in Indian manufacturing?
I would say a big opportunity.
Is there any song that you can relate to the state of manufacturing in India right now?
I don't watch many Indian movies, so I
Any Marathi song?
I cannot really. Maybe you can coin it much better than I do.
I can say Chak De India. I think that I would say. What's your favorite book?
There's a book called Ek Hota Karwar. It's a Marathi book that was written by. So it's one of my favorite books.
Who has played the most influential role in your life so far?
I think my father, no doubt.
And last but not the least, what is that one technology
advancement that you think will change the manufacturing in next 20, 30 years?
Low-cost automation together with AI is, I think, something that will change our manufacturing for the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, we heard from the man himself. One sentence, if I had to pick, build products or do something that can change the lives of the common people, and that has been driver for Accurate. I must thank for his time. Thank you very much, sir. It was my honor and privilege to talk.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.